Mathrax is a puzzle played on a square grid. Your goal is to fill the grid with numbers from 1 to n, where n is the grid size, with no number appearing more than once in a row or column. Additionally, the grid contains some extra clues at the line intersections. There are 3 types of clues. 1. A letter E means the values in all the 4 adjacent cells are even. 2. A letter O means all the values in all the 4 adjacent cells are odd. 3. A value and a mathematical operation means that applying this operation to the numbers in the diagonally adjacent cells will result with the value provided. For example, a 2- can have cells with values 1 and 3 or 2 and 4. The operation and the result applies to both pairs of the diagonally adjacent cells. Today we'll look at an easier Mathrax puzzle, with the solution derived from the information in the grid in a fairly obvious way. So, let's see what we can conclude from the initial state of the puzzle. Since a 3 can't be divided by 2, the value in the other cell from this pair must be a 6. What's more, we can also resolve the other pair. A division with 2 can be achieved using a 4 or a 1, but we already have a 4 in row 4, meaning this specific division is done using a 2 and a 1. Also, having one of the addends, we can resolve both of the diagonals for this sum. The 1 in column 4 is a5. And the 1 in column 5 is a4. This subtraction also can be resolved in full. The value in row 4 can be either a1 or a3, but since it already has a 1 in the same row, it must be a 3. On the other hand, the value in row 5 can be a 5 or a7, but our grid is 6 cells wide, so 7 is out of range, meaning the subtraction is done with a 6 and a5. We also have one of the 2 addends for both pairs of this sum, meaning the adjacent value in row 4 is a 2 and the one in row 5 is a 4. This cell is the last one in its row, meaning it must contain a 5. Now we can resolve this subtraction. Since both 7 and 8 are out of the grid range, the value in column 1 must be a 1, while the one in column 2 is a 2. Looking at this subtraction, since 0 is also out of range, the value in column 1 must be a 4. We can now resolve this subtraction. The value in column 1 can't be a 4 as there is a 4 in column 1 already, so it must be a 2. On the other hand, the value in column 2 can't be a 3 because there's a 3 in the same column, so it must be a 5. This cell here can be either a 1 or a 5 based on the clue it has in the bottom right corner. However, it already has a 1 in the same row, so it must be a 5. This makes the last cell in the row a6. This means we can resolve this addition here. The cell in column 4 is a 2, and the one in column 5 is a 1. And then this addition, the cell in column 4 is a4, and the one in column 5 is a3. Since 7 is out of range for our grid, the missing value for this subtraction must be a 5. This cell is the last in its row, so it must hold a 6, and same with this cell here. This cell is the last in its column, so it must hold a 2. Now this cell has all values present in its row except for a 3 and a 6. However, it also has a 3 in its column, meaning it holds a 6. This leaves this cell with a 3. And these 2 cells are the last in their respective columns, so the one in column 1 holds a 6, and the one in column 2 holds a 1. And that's it. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see how a harder Mathrax puzzle is solved.